Are you struggling to put measurables in place in your business? I find that a lot of companies really want to look at meaningful data and have it help them make decisions, but they don't exactly know where to begin. And even if they try to formulate some sort of report, they start to ask the question, is it even accurate? So, what I do with our clients is a process that I call the visible agency game plan. And really, what it is centered around is creating visibility out of the most important metrics and the things that are happening inside of your business at any given time. A lot of folks struggle with this, and it's because it's invisible to them. It's kind of like if you were on a boat in the middle of the sea, and all of a sudden this big fog rolls in, and you're trying to figure out where you're going and see some of the landmarks that you know you should be seeing to guide you in the right direction. But that fog is so thick that you can't actually see past your own hand in front of you. And that's how we operate in our businesses all the time. We are reacting to the things that are just flying in front of our face, and it can feel really overwhelming, but we don't know how to get out of the fog. And what I'm here to show you is my visible agency game plan. So what it looks like is really creating a visible way to collect the right types of data, to present the right types of data so that you can make informed decisions about that data. The first big question that we need to ask ourselves is, are we collecting the right data? And is it accurate? So I always ask, are we tracking and or collecting the right kind of data? It's often that the answer to that is no, or the answer to that is sometimes, so it's not super accurate. So creating procedures around how you are collecting data is super, super important. I always joke with my friend and agency coach colleague that finance tells the truth, but key performance indicators tell the stories between truths, right? Why did that stuff happen? And it's really, really common that agencies or businesses at large have those financial reports pretty dialed in, right? There's a universal way that we are tracking finances inside of the agency and how we are paying people and the revenue that we're getting and where that stuff in the middle is going. And then what happens is at the end of the month, or maybe even 6 weeks later, when we've reconciled everything and we get our reports from the finance team, we're left wondering, well, hey, now what? Like, what do I do? Why did that happen? So are you tracking the right information that you need to be tracking? Are you tracking time with your team? This is one of the biggest heavy lifts that I work with on a lot of digital agencies, is making sure that time tracking, the processes around that feel really clear and really frictionless, because tracking time feels cumbersome to a lot. However, if you get used to it, if you are in a position where it's really frictionless and it doesn't really take you a lot of time to remember to track your time, then I find that it's a little bit easier for teams to collect a lot of that information. Second is, are we collecting information on our clients? Meaning, are we asking meaningful questions to our project management tool, for example, right? Are we actually separating our clients into specific projects, or is everything just kind of flowing into one big project system or one big inflow of, several different projects that we're working on? So separating our projects into the clients that we actually are serving can help us actually visualize the data on how profitable on average we are in all of our services more healthily than if we were just take a blanket average for everybody, because we can understand, okay, if we have various different types of services, if some clients are in specific industries, how does that affect our profitability? And it can start to help, like I said, clear that fog and make the decision so much more impactful and specific on what you need to do next. So make sure your data is being collected really, really specifically. Second big thing is make sure that we can create a visual that actually answers some of the questions that we have about the business. I often like to create some key reports, whether that's in your project management tool. We've worked with a lot of agencies on creating something inside of their tools, but we've also worked with a lot of agencies to create something inside of just Google Sheets. So creating and collecting the right data and then creating the story that the data is telling us and crafting it in a way that's going to tell us what actually to do next, phase 3, is going to be really, really huge. We worked with a company that was really trying to centralize some of their account management performance, how folks were managing budgets, how meaningfully they were keeping our folks on long term, how many repeat projects we were actually working on with them. And so what we wanted to do was we wanted to make sure that retention was top of mind, but we also wanted to collect some of the data and tell the story about what else affects retention, right? So responding. to client inquiries, making sure that the project was on time, on budget, and within the scope that they'd already, actually agreed to with the client. So make sure if you're looking at a report, it's not just collected with maybe haphazard time tracking data or across, the agency entirely. And make sure as well that this data is actually telling you the answers to the questions that you're actually asking, right? How do we keep clients longer? How do we have more profitable projects? How do we surprise, delight, and over deliver for our people? What we want to understand that they're able to get these results for the clients in the timeline that we're looking for. And that tells us where to go, where to spend our time, what to improve inside of the company. Third and finally is to make those decisions. So I always say that reports are going to raise those flags, right? They're going to say, hey, this is within what we thought, or this is way outside, or we're crushing it in this area, let's double down. And so those flags get waved. And we have a traffic light system internally at Operations Agency. We deploy the same thing with our clients. And it's really, really helpful to say, okay, this metric should be within this range. And if it's not, we need to sound the alarm, right? The alarm needs to be sounded to whomever is accountable to that metric. And it's really, really important to make sure that you have a person identified with each of the metrics of your business. So as you are creating a more visible agency with your data, you want to make sure that if, for example, we're collecting that data, if we're positioning it into a meaningful story that answers the questions that we have, that you have a person who can be notified, consulted, informed that their metric is in danger, or that their metric is doing so well that whatever it is they're doing, we need to replicate that or maybe even double down on it, right? If a specific campaign is outperforming the rest, we want to make sure that campaign gets more attention, more budget, more of that thing, right? So it makes it available, makes it visible, and helps us make real-time decisions, not 6 weeks down the line decisions, today decisions. Today decisions that can help us increase the budget on some of those campaigns. Today decisions that help us pour into the training of our team and really spend some time with them to help them understand what's expected or how to approach something or why we do something. I've seen visible agencies and visible businesses at large really pour into the areas of their team where they might be deficient and where they see some things lagging, and even get out in front of customers or clients and say, hey, listen, this is coming down the pike and it's usually a bottleneck for us. But if we do this, and this, we can kind of blast through that next phase. And it really helps us make confident decisions. Instead of being that sailor in the fog, what you are now is you're in the cockpit, right? You've got everything at your disposal. You can fly above the fog, you can fly above the clouds, and you can see really clearly with this wonderful dashboard to really where you need to go next. So I hope that you can create a more visible presence with your data, with your key performance indicators. If you are wondering what metrics I track inside of an agency, I would love to hear from you. If you DM us on Instagram, metrics, I will send you the 5 best metrics to track in your agency. So don't overcomplicate this. Don't go too far down the rabbit hole. I want you to win, and I want to make sure your agency stays visible so that you can make the best decisions that you possibly can. Take care.